Hello, everyone. Today we're going to start with the first episode of our new sort of little thing episode that we're trying to do together with two COPD patients, one younger one a little bit older. May I introduce to you Patrick. Patrick, welcome. Thank you.
Howdy there.
Where are you?
I'm in Texas. I'm in Austin.
That's far away. How is it there? How is the breathing going today?
Breathing is very good today, thankfully, yes. As good as can be expected.
So you came up with the title of our little episodes we're going to make together. So you go ahead and...
It's quite true. It's not easy being WEEZY, And I was just thinking that it takes a lot of discipline to stay concentrated on actual breathing. Before this ever happened, I never really thought about breathing all that much. And it was just like second nature. But now it's like I have to remember to breathe, because if I don't, I'm going to be in trouble real quick. So I have to be very mindful about it, deliberate, consistent, controlled breathing. As long as I do that, I'm fine.
Did this all start for you? Like, how did it all started? Like the COPD diagnose. How did it go?
Actually, I'll go back a little bit before the diagnosis. You know how you constantly see these advertisements on TV for inhalers and stuff, and they would mention some of the indications of COPD. One of them was wheezing, and at that point, I could remember when I'd lay down and go to sleep, and it was real quiet, and I could hear myself breathing. And I said, you probably actually have the early stages of this. It's like seeing the service engine light soon come on in your car, but everything else seems to be running just fine. It's just making a little noise. No, don't worry about it. That's fine. So I just let it go. And so the way I came up with the diagnosis was getting a serious dose of pneumonia, and it turned septic. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and the doctors all asked my wife, when was he diagnosed with COPD? And she started laughing. She said, he don't go to the doctor. He's never been diagnosed, and I said, oh, okay. So anyway, they informed me that I had COPD, and I'm like, whatever. Then I left the hospital in a wheelchair on oxygen at 106 pounds. It was a life-changing experience. It turned my world upside down. The last thing I remember is they were scooting me out to the car at the entrance to the hospital, and they said, now remember, you're never going to be quite the same. When the world catches a cold, you get pneumonia, and every time you get pneumonia, it's going to take you down a notch. And I went, whatever, like, okay, whatever. So I got home, and I was on oxygen for a couple of weeks. I had a doctor's appointment to go to, and I went, I'm determined to be off the oxygen before I have to go to the doctor, because I don't want to cart this tank around with me. And sure enough, I was able to get up off of it, thankfully. But fast forward about the first 18 months was I struggled with breathing, but I never got a cold. I don't recall having a flare up. They call them exacerbations, but that's a long word that I don't like. Flare up sounds better. So anyway, I tried to learn everything I could by studying about the condition, the COPD. It was for me, it's emphysema, and it's like racked 2/3 of my lungs. It's all over the place. And chronic bronchitis, which I question whether I have chronic bronchitis. I can get into coughing spells, but they say chronic bronchitis is determined by having a cough that lasts 3 months inside of a year. And I've never had a cough that lasts 3 months that I know of. A month, yes. And it just wears you out, you know. So anyway, the first 18 months was fine. I had a flare up. I was trying to go it alone, and I did pretty good. I mean, I got a lot of stuff done. I was working. I was struggling. And in that time, I realized what they told me when I was leaving the hospital, that I would never be the same. It came home to me that it was very true. Certain things didn't change. A struggle to breathe. And like I say, really requires concentrated effort to get the most out of life. Is breathing is in, out. Quite important, really, you know. So I had this flare up, and it scared the daylights out of me. I went to the doctor. The doctor gave me some medicine. I gave it a try. I was allergic to it. It seemed to actually exacerbate the situation. I went back to the doctor. They did x-rays, said maybe you have pneumonia. Here, take some antibiotics. I did that. They called back and said, no, your x-ray's good. You have trapped air. You don't have pneumonia. So I was somewhat relieved about that, but I still felt terrible. And it scared the daylights out of me. And I said, you know, I think I need to go see a pulmonologist, because nobody ever told me when I left the hospital,
Wow.
you should go see a pulmonologist, you know. And I'm not inclined to go to the doctors to begin with. So anyway, I went to a pulmonologist, and I go once a year. And I like the doctor. And I look at doctors as my personal thoughts on this whole thing is that we need to be our own best advocate. We really do. And I personally need to take my life into my own hands, and that I'm the ultimate authority in what goes on with me. Because inevitably I'm the one that has to live by the consequences. So I take the doctor as a counsel and consider what they say. I asked about rehab, and she said, sure, I'll refer you to rehab. Rehab is the best thing anybody can do for themselves regarding COPD by far. Respiratory therapists help school me on some really simple stuff. Sometimes it's simple stuff. I remember to start out my day, the first thing in the morning, I take a shower. When it came to like putting on my underwear and my pants, I would totally lose my breath and have to recover. And I mentioned that to one of the therapists, and they kind of laughed and said, oh no, this is what you do. This is how you do it. And they showed me. They also showed me how to walk upstairs without getting out of breath. All kind of good little stuff. And I'm kind of looking forward to going back for a second round. Medicare covers, I forget, several sessions, which I've been through half of one. Right about halfway through it is when the pandemic started. And so they actually cut down, they shut down the the clinic is in a hospital. So, but anyway, I learned a lot there. And since then, I've managed to do much better about steering clear of the flare-ups. And the ones that I've had have been fairly light. Now, I had one that lasted 30 days, and I ran to the doctor. The doctor gave me antibiotics. A week later, after I'd taken them all, I still felt terrible. I went back to the doctor. The doctor gave me another round of antibiotics and said, look, there's nothing else I can do for you. It was almost like, stop coming here, you know? So another week went by. I took the round of antibiotics, went back, and the first thing she told me, she was nice, I liked her, but she said, you know, if you remember correctly, I told you that there was nothing else I could do for you. And so she gave me another round of antibiotics. And so I was kind of like, okay, I get the message this time. I'm not coming back. I called my pulmonologist and told her it's been 30 days and I feel like I'm going to die. I had suicidal ideation because I felt so useless. I couldn't do shit. And I was like, this sucks. I'm like, if it's going to be like this, I don't want to live like this. It was terrible. It was really bad. My people, my family, they were concerned. And yeah, I couldn't hide it. It was terrible. So my pulmonologist put me to rest. When I talked to her, she said, oh, you know, you're in your condition, you know, with 2/3 of your lungs gone, a 30-day flare-up is nothing to be concerned about. And I was like, holy shit, what a relief, you know?
So that's
It
normal.
felt so good for her that she told me that. I was like, wow, that took a lot of heat off me. It didn't make me feel any better physically, but in my mind, I thought, wow, what a relief. Maybe I'm not dying, you know? So anyway, I recouped from that one. And since then, I haven't had any flare-ups quite like that. And
But isn't it so that if you have COPD, sometimes like me, what you do for me is like you just give me a certain sort of, it's all right, it's all right, it's gonna be all right, you know, like we just need someone else with more experience who just tells us like what's normal, what's not normal, you know, to be coughing for 30 days or not feeling like any energy for 30 days, like the last flare up I had. You told me the same. And you know, that's I think that's what we can do with helping each other. Like the experience, you obviously were diagnosed years ago, like 5 years ago, if I remember correctly.
that's right.
I was only diagnosed a year ago, so I think I learned a lot from you and all the tips and tricks. And I hope during these episodes we can talk about little things more and more. I just wanted to introduce you to my people of my YouTube channel because I think it's so important that we can support each other. And you know, actually, how do you say that when you say it's all right, it's going to be all right? You're just giving comfort to someone, like someone with more experience in the disease, for someone who just got the diagnosis, which is extremely, you know, up in your face, like that's it, we can't help you, we can't give anything to you, we can give you antibiotics and that's it, you know. It's a very big thing ever diagnosed to get.
It's a huge challenge to process, especially when I can't imagine for people that are on oxygen, because to me, that's a whole nother, that adds a whole different aspect to the condition. So I was on it at home for 2 weeks, but my thinking is when I was growing up, I was in Boy Scouts, and there's a lot of good stuff that we learned there. One of the things was when we go swimming, we were taught to have a buddy system. You don't go in the water by yourself, you go together. Like
You don't drown.
You have to, nowadays I'll go swimming by myself. I'm not an able-bodied swimmer. But the concept of having a companion, like a team player together with you, and I think, in the water, that was quite important. And especially for beginners, we were young kids, Anyway, for us with this condition, and it's true for any condition, uh, it's really, I think it's important to have a support group, and even sometimes at least one person that's, like a sponsor or whatever. Like, I don't know, I'm loosely associated with uh, people from Alcoholics Anonymous or
I think that's a good concept.
Narcotics Anonymous. And they have that also, looking out for each other to help make the most, reach our ultimate potential with the condition that we're dealing with. So everybody's going to have weakness, and but looking out for each other. So it's very important. I like the Facebook groups. It's different if you can find somebody that you can actually pick up the phone and call when you need to, or maybe like get on here, like a Zoom call or WhatsApp or whatever, and be able to have a shoulder to lean on or an ear to listen, and also just get a second opinion about, whatever's going on, because there's any kind of condition like this, there's a whole, I don't know, plethora of other stuff that follows along with it. Like, to me, when we're in our most down and out, and we get this feeling of being useless because we are, maybe if you're having a flare up and you get to the feeling because taking one step, your breath is just not there. It really helps to have somebody to talk to and to understand, that you're not useless, and you don't need to be going into any of these downward spirals mentally, to get out of the physical condition that's swamping us, at the moment. So everybody has their bad moments in life. We all need to have good friends, people that understand the particulars of whatever, it is that we're dealing with. So
That's why you are my buddy. I couldn't have gone through the past year, I think, without you, like reassuring me that whatever was going on was going to get better or was normal, that I wasn't abnormal, and to give me courage to fight the disease and to give yourself a pat on the back. I think that's the biggest thing that you've done for me, is even if you have days that you can't accomplish a lot, that you still, whatever you do, if you feed yourself and wash yourself already, that's great that you can do that and give yourself a pat on the back. So you've been a great support for me the last year, like, as we know each other only shortly, but I'm very thankful. I hope we can have more of these little talks about tips and tricks, maybe next time, that we make a little list of all the tips we can give other people that you've learned, that I've learned from the ergonomic chiropractor, or how you call that in English?
I'm not sure. Anyway, I go back to one point that I think is very fundamental, and is being our own best advocate. Because when when I find myself down and out, I tend to be like a wounded creature that goes try to hide under a tree, and cocoon off and try to get through it. But to be your own best advocate sometimes means, hey, you need to pick up the phone and talk to a friend that understands what you're going through. Somebody just to listen to, that we can air out whatever's on our hearts, whatever's in our mind. They're not going to judge us. They're just going to be there for us. And a lot of times it's that simple, and it can make a big difference. But we do that for ourselves by having somebody that we can click with, that we know is going to be able to, that give and take, So I still kind of like that with this, when the crap starts to hit the fan, I try to hide it. I think maybe part of being a guy is it's real important to look cool. And that's kind of BS, really. It's more important for us to be our own best advocate and, have a hand to hold sometimes, to just, or an ear to listen. So finding good friends that can understand the condition is very important, and developing, that part of that support group, And I think even within the support group, it's good to have a one-on-one with at least somebody, So
I think the concept you started talking like a buddy, like you have like someone like in the AA, it's definitely a good concept to apply for our disease. Definitely. Well, I want to thank you for sharing all that, and we make a next episode pretty soon. We get together and sit down, whatever we can still share for the public.
You're always welcome.
Okay, well, thank you very much for doing that. You still want to share a last thing? You still want to put something out there?
Yeah, I would say don't shortchange yourself in thinking to be your own best advocate, that we live with the consequences of the choice that we make. And we really have to consider that we're as much of an expert as anybody else is, because we're living it. So we have to give a lot of consideration and take counsel from so-called authorities, but also to ultimately not blindly take somebody's advice and run with it, but give strong consideration to it. And I've experimented around and checked. I went to the doctor, I tried this and I tried that, and I still go to the doctor. And I listen to them and respect them as the authority that they are. But remember that I myself am the ultimate authority. It's my choice.
Your body.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Hope we talk soon again. Thank you.
Likewise. Hello from Austin.
Hello from Antwerp. Take care. Speak soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.